Hello again to this video clip series, My Journey to God in a Very Secularized World. In this video clip we continue with this letter of Padre Cortelio Gabriele in 2017. If you remember several video clips before, I had offered two of the meditations at the international exercises of Padre Cortelio Gabriele in 2016. He expressed his very great concern of what was happening in the movement, confusion and division, and things continued to get worse. So then in 2017 he wrote this letter which I also I translated for him into English from Italian. So we continue now with this letter that we had started in the last video clip. He writes, Padre Cortelio writes, he continues here. He says, "Let me say that now, following the statutes to the letter, the movement has become one of the many movements, but not the Marian movement of priests. We all know very well what Our Lady says repeatedly. The movement is her work, and she will take care of it to go forward and to provide for everything else. That is why I am here to ask pardon of the Immaculate Heart for having betrayed this work with the statutes, her work, and of all of you for not trusting in Mary. In this regard, I should make clear a fact that I think is important. We elected the two people in charge at Valenza at the end of June, prior to the approval of the statutes, which were approved on July 13th, 2013, by the Bishop of Como, Monsignor Coletti. Thus, Father Laurent was elected by the Assembly, practically from Our Lady, not from the laws of the statutes. As the last priest who was able to share so many confidences with Don Stefano, I must assume full responsibility, also for the fact that Don Stefano had always refused an acknowledgement of the movement. As he always said when asked this question, the movement is the work of Mary. I cannot depose of what is not mine. While today, with the statutes in hand, one wants to impose a movement that is not what Our Lady entrusted to us, and much less what Don Stefano has spread in the whole world. The mission of us being part of the cohort of Mary, she wants us in the forefront of fighting the cohort of the adversary formed by the strongest, the most intelligent, the most powerful, the most numerous, influential, and rich. While we, the cohort of Mary, is formed by the last ones, by those who do not count for anything, by those which the world discards. Those who followed Don Stefano in the last years know what he used very often, the example of Gideon. And even in the movement, he would say, there will remain few for the final battle. Naturally, in this work, there are made use of instruments, in particular Don Stefano Gobi was chosen. Why? On a page of the book, this explanation is given. This is a message from Our Lady. My son, I have chosen you because you are the least apt instrument. Thus, no one will say that this is your work. The Marian movement of priests must be my work alone. Through your weakness, I will manifest my strength. Through your nothingness, I will manifest my power. That was the message of July 16, 1973. And Padre Cortelio continues, Woe if someone feels he is capable, and even worse, if he might think now as the one in charge. I'll take care of things by myself. The married movement of priests is not therefore a laudable association with many statutes and executives promoted by some fervent priest or soul, but it is a spirit, as the Holy Father John Paul II happily understood it. It is something impalpable, even though strong and alive, as are the gifts of God, and it has as its main purpose to live the consecration to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. And then he quotes another message of Our Lady. He quotes Our Lady saying, I do not need human resources. The movement goes forward when you offer me your prayer and your suffering. I have no need of human means. To adhere to it depends entirely on correspondence to a special grace which I will grant to each one. And this you can obtain through your prayer, my son, through your love, through your suffering, and even through your inability to act. That was a message June 24th, 1974. Then Padre Cortilla continues. He says, I feel it is reprehensible, the request in the emails to fill up the empty rooms for Fatima with a tariff of 20 euros as the price of the Mass. Unfortunately, it arrived into the hands of many lay people and foreign priests who ask what is going on in the movement. And again, he quotes a message of Our Lady. I might add that in that year they had the international annual meeting of the movement at Fatima, but much fewer people came, and so they needed more money to pay for the expenses. I might add that. And then Padre Cortillo puts in here a message of Our Lady. He says, Our Lady says, if I have asked for no juridical structure for the movement, it is precisely because I want it to be spread in silence and hiddenness. This is the message of October 24th, 1975. And then he continues, he says, we must not run to Rome to ask for an official character. Our Lady wants us in silence and in hiddenness, careful about invitations and about cardinals. And Padre Cortilla continues, do we trust what Our Lady tells us in the messages? Do we think that it is her to take care of everything in hiddenness and in silence because her tactic is contrary to that of her adversary, who wants to be believed that he has all in hand? And then he quotes another message of Our Lady. Our Lady says, this is not one of many movements, but it is my movement, my son. So then let me act. All my priests must act this way. I will make them understand by causing every human means in which they had placed their trust to come tumbling down. They must entrust themselves to me alone. And this was a message of February 10th, 1974. And Padre Cortillo continues, he says, she brings down all human means, the words of Our Lady. And he says, I think this might be good to remember today, in which one wants to organize as if in organizing there might be success for the movement. Is it not better to trust more in her rather than in the structures, in human approvals, at the expense of little trust in her? The trips to travel. Now there is only to encourage to do the cenicals to live well the consecration. In conclusion, I would like to bring out that also in the movement there is a certain confusion, especially in Italy, where in these last 3 years some have tried to demolish what Don Stefano had left. For 40 years, he led the movement forward by himself. Also now, Father Laurent has this task. The Council can perhaps help him to resolve the most grave problems. In these times of great confusion, which has penetrated also in the movement, Our Lady might ask each of us, do you want to consent to my messages and live them? Do you want to be part of my cohort to fight the last battle? Or do you want, with 1,000 fake excuses, to adapt to the predominant way of thinking of a secularized church, which has as its program to adapt itself to the modern times at the expense of the truth of the gospel and of the 2,000-year teaching of the perennial values inherent in human nature, freed from sin? And he took that from the Catechism of the Catholic Church, paragraphs 675 to 77. I will end this video clip here. May God bless you and Mary guide you.